You are listening to the In the Travel Know podcast, where we talk to game-changing leaders in the industry on how they got to where they are, trends they think will transform the industry, what they believe is the future of travel, and how they support sustainability, diversity, and young people in travel. Are you ready to get in the travel know? Hello, and thank you for tuning into the In the Travel Know podcast, powered by AVIS Budget Group and supported by the ITT Future You and Waterfront, the creative agency for ambitious travel brands. My name is Jamie-Lee Abtar, your host, and today I have the pleasure of sitting with a friend and a colleague and all of these great things, Olly Nicholls, the CEO of Attraction World. Welcome to the show, Olly.
Good afternoon.
How are you feeling today?
I feel great. And my voice has got a little bit funny.
For those of you that are listening, we had the Globe Travel Awards last night.
We did.
And we had a great time.
It was great fun. Great fun.
But thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Olly, and taking the time out to come down to London. The In the Travel Know podcast is all about highlighting who we consider to be influential leaders within the travel industry. And for me, an important part of influence is all about understanding, their story. And they're like, How did you get to where you are today? And one of the things, I think the first time I met you, Olly, was during the ITT Future You conference. It was digitally, it was online.
Yeah.
And your story absolutely blew me away. Especially when I heard
you.
your journey from your speech impediments to where you are today.
Yeah.
I just thought that there's one day I want to be able to highlight this story. So I'm really glad to have you here today. And I want you to give our audience a little bit of a background on, Olly, how did you get into the travel? Where did it start? Give us a little bit of a background.
Okay, well, where shall I start? So I guess I go back to 1995. I'm on a family vacation. It's the same year Wigfield Saturday Night was released.
Okay.
I remember that. And we was in a place called Tossa de Mar in northern Spain.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I met these reps who were repping the hotel. I was 15 years old, very influential, at the time, and saw it as a job that I'd love to do. I when I was 15, I didn't really know what direction I wanted my career to go in. I'm a guy from Birmingham, so you either had the choice of Rover, which was a big car manufacturing industry in Birmingham, or the police or the army. There wasn't really a lot of choices, and I always loved travel. I was very lucky from a young age to travel a lot with my parents. But I was always really scared because I had this speech impediment. So I had a stammer from the age of 2. Did speech therapy all the way through school, all the way through my young adulthood. So whilst I knew I wanted to rep and I wanted to be on stage and I wanted to do welcome meetings and I wanted to engage with people, I was just petrified of doing it because not being able to get my words out, it was the most scariest thing I could ever face. And then it came to the late 90s. I then actually thought, well, why don't I go and work at Disney? So I applied for Disney. I applied for an internship in Orlando, and then 9/11 happened. So that totally changed all plans, the course of which way I was going to go. So I applied for what was at the time Thompson Holidays. This was early 2001. And the rest was history. I do the same job today as what I did back in 2001. That's the same experience.
Right?
People,
wow.
So it's kind of gone full circle.
Yeah.
And I remember on that interview, I had to present for 45 minutes about a destination of my choice. And I chose Australia. Okay. It was the most nerve-wracking 45 minutes I've ever experienced. How on earth I got through, I do not know. I really, really don't. I was like a rabbit in the headlights. But the guy that interviewed me, a guy called Brian Young, who I'm still good friends with today, just sort of said it was that perseverance, it was that fighting spirit that I wouldn't give up. And they kept saying to me during the interview, listen, do you want to call it quits? And I just refused to. So that was the start of it. I'd applied to be a Club 3-star rep. So they were like 18 to 20, 18 to 30s. And the reason for that, I'd watched Ibiza Uncovered and read a book called Is Harry on the Boat? And thought that's what a rep's life is. So back then, what Thomson would do, which is now TUI, they would fly you to Palma, Mallorca, and then you'd then be dispersed to either Ibiza, Mallorca, or Minorca. So the night before I go, I've left a copy on a VHS, an old cassette, for anyone who's listening that doesn't know what one of those is. On a VHS cassette, I'd left a copy of Ibiza Uncovered. My mom and dad had dropped me off at the airport, went back, they turned on the TV and they see this Ibiza Uncovered. So my mom phones Thomson's head office at the time in Leamington Spa and basically said, there's no way in the world my son's going to go and work in Ibiza. He's in flight at the moment to Mallorca. You need to do something about this. So I arrive in Mallorca, and there's this big ramp that goes down to to the baggage carousel, and I'm walking down. And at this time, you've probably got around 400 reps going to the Balearic Islands, because it was back in the days where it was all about customer service, experience, and really looking after the customers in resort. And I arrive, and on the tannoy, Oliver Nicholls. I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm the guy going to Ibiza. Blonde tips in my hair. I had highlights. Really excited. And they turn around and say, your mom's phoned. You're not allowed to go to Ibiza.
You must have been so shocked.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was embarrassed. And they said, you're now going to Minorca. And I was like, well, where's Minorca? Is this a party place as well? And yeah, I was surprised when they then put me in a family hotel. That was the start of my experience in travel.
Okay.
It was only supposed to be for 6 months.
And how long did you stay?
I stayed overseas for nearly 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You did that for so long. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so managed all over the world. So Minorca predominantly in the summers, but then the Canary Islands, Thailand, Mexico. It was a really great experience. And I worked my way up through TUI, and then kind of within about 9 years I was based in Ibiza, and that's when the TUI First Choice merger happened. So we merged overseas, and I was asked to go back to the UK and help with the UK merger of retail. So it was an opportunity to get a proper job, as my family would say it, in the UK. With my dad still pushing, saying travel is not man's work. You shouldn't be working in travel. There's no prospects there for you. And then I moved back. I moved back to the UK. It was an experience.
Amazing. That's just amazing start into the travel industry. I think a really inspirational story. And I heard lots of, like, as I was listening to you, it was like, like a key theme that keeps popping up for me was like perseverance. That word perseverance. I think you had a lot of perseverance to get you to that particular point of where you are today. My next question is all around like your current role.
Yeah.
I want you to tell us a little bit about what's a day in the life of CEO Olly Nicholls.
Perseverance. Perseverance for me and my team. So, it's been a real strange 2 years. So I joined Attraction World. I was the global commercial director prior at City Sightseeing Worldwide, a big open top bus company. And when I joined Attraction World, suddenly our biggest customer, Thomas Cook, go out of business. So perseverance is there straight away. There's a fight. Then we get hit by COVID. And it was really strange. I was saying to Claire the other day, the last time I saw Claire in person was at UCB in Birmingham, just prior to the lockdown. And then the second time I saw her was at the University of Wolverhampton. And it was like, whoa, where have the 2 years gone? So it was all quite strange. And then I led a acquisition of the company back in June with a private investor. So we acquired, and I became the CEO. And I find it really strange because I'm a socialist at heart. So in all of my teams and overseas, it was always you support your team, you develop from a grassroots, and your job as a leader is to give them the tools to do the job. And going into my first role as a CEO was just petrifying. In the middle of a pandemic, every one of our main partners we were closed off from. So Walt Disney World, Disneyland Paris, we couldn't get people to the US, we couldn't get people to France. But it's been an incredible experience. I've been really lucky to have such an amazing team. We were pre-COVID, we were a team of around 120 people.
Okay.
In June last year, we went down to 15. That was a low point. The redundancies were heart-wrenching for both sides. But we're now seeing a lot of positivity. We're beating 219's numbers already with a lot lower cost base. I've just been lucky to be surrounded by great people.
Great people.
Really great people. I've got a great number 2 guy called Justin Mahoney who stands side by side with me running the business. We've got a great leadership team who are passionate about the brands and about the experiences we deliver. And I'm incredibly lucky, as I said at the start, I do the same job today as what I did when I was 21 years old. You know, I've gone from selling a ticket around a swimming pool to a ticket from a boardroom, but I don't spend a lot of time in the boardroom. We spend a lot of time on the phones with customers, building websites, you know, because it's all hands on deck at the moment. We have no doubt that the business is going to boom across the next 2 years. It's worrying what's happening in the Ukraine at the moment and how that will not just affect the people of Ukraine awfully as it is, but the knock-on effect we'll see globally on that. But no, really positive. And I think when you look at perseverance and resilience, the travel industry's got that, you know. I remember the ash cloud crisis when and I was actually in Calais delivering nappies to people, and I was getting shouted at, "It's your fault, Thompson aren't caring, you're not getting us back to the UK." And it was like, well, I've come over, mate, to give you a set of nappies for your kid. But it's always been that perseverance, and I think that's why I've been so matched to a role within travel, because I don't give up, and you know,
don't give up.
I keep going. And you know, someone said the other day, you're really lucky, and I don't believe in luck. I believe that you make your own luck, and you keep going and you push and push and push. I shouldn't be sat where I am today. I remember a teacher when I was about 14, he threw a book at me in class, so I refused to read in front of the rest of the class, you know, and I shouldn't have made it. But you know, those early years as a rep, I'd push myself on stage. I used to smoke a lot of cigarettes in the toilet of the hotel to calm my nerves before I went on stage.
Before you went on stage.
But you know, once you defeat those fears, it's great. And I hold the 21-year-old version of me alongside myself every day today, because all of the work we're doing with ITT and you know, the grassroots that we're building at Attraction World, I'm always trying to think, okay, what was I thinking when I was 21, when I was coming into the industry? How do you support? How do you mentor properly? And I had great mentors. I had people around me that cared, that pulled me in the right direction. And I'm still friends with all these people today.
I heard a great story about you today, actually. Apparently, at the last ITT Future You, there was a student who got up and she said something about confidence. I think she was like, how do you overcome confidence? And then I heard that you gave her some advice. And then not only that, you went and offered her like a 3-month internship. And it was like, that's just such an amazing gesture.
She was an amazing girl. She was amazing. It was, you could see, as I was presenting, you could see the interest on her face, and you could see she was dying to ask something. You could just picture it. And we came to the end. We asked, a few people asked, and then she kind of stood up and asked the question, and it was, we're really looking forward to her joining us and coming in for the day, for the 3 months. We're extending that internship program for both Wolverhampton and UCB. So we're looking at around 20 interns this year. And these are in different roles. So we're just launching a job role now, which is a roller coaster apprentice. So their job will just be to go around all the roller coasters in the UK and test them out.
Can I sign up?
As a job, you know. So that's what we're launching with all of our UK partners today, and we'll have all the apprentices out doing that and experience these things firsthand. You know, it's really important.
That's really to sell this, to experience it firsthand.
Hi there, this is Sam Ballard, the Managing Director of Waterfront, the ambitious creative company for ambitious travel companies. This episode's Waterfront Moment is all about attractions. For ticket sellers who are obviously relying on what you're selling, it's just a third party. So when you come to selling something like Disney, you're selling one of the most valuable companies in the world. Disney are fascinating. If you look at their longevity over such a sustained period and the success that they've had, few companies, if any company, can possibly compete with them. From adopting computer animation, Toy Story was the world's first fully computer animated film, to buying the Star Wars franchise and starting a streaming platform, Disney Plus, and I'm missing multiple different things and benchmarks that Disney has set. However, my favourite Disney story is all about the Disney princess behemoth. Talking to Monocle, Disney's former consumer products division boss, Andy Mooney, said that he was in the queue for Disney on Ice back in 2000 and noticed that all of the little girls in the queue were wearing homemade princess outfits. Incredibly, the company didn't make them, so parents had been making these dresses themselves at home for their girls, and all of them had them. He asked the mothers whether they would buy them from Disney if they offered them. They said yes, obviously, and he put that plan into action. By the end of 2001, sales across the Disney Princess line was something like $300 million, which is incredible. But not as incredible as the fact that by the end of 2018, the Princess division was worth $6 billion a year. Often, if you take a different perspective, it just shows that you can realise there is an incredible opportunity that you have. This is your Waterfront Moment, brought to you by Waterfront, the creative agency for the travel industry.
What would you consider to be one of your career highlights, and why?
Wow, career highlight. I guess for me, attraction world's really easy to talk about, but I don't think I've hit that highlight yet. I think we're still in that phase of rebuild of kind of startup mentality. So I guess my other highlight would have been becoming a resort manager overseas, because I was still in my 20s. I was the youngest manager within TUI. I'd had everything thrown against me. I shouldn't have got to that role, and I did. And I think for me at that point, it changed the skin that I lived in every day. I'd always had kind of two personas. So what I'd learned was through the speech impediment, when I went on stage to present, I acted. So I wasn't Olly. I'd go on stage and I'd perform. And when I became the resort manager, I was no longer performing anymore. I was just being me. And the speech impediment had gone, and I hadn't even noticed.
Wow.
And it was then leading. I've got some great friends in the industry who worked with me during those years, who I brought through, and becoming that leader, and then being able to mentor them and help them with their anxieties. As a rep, the most anxious thing you will ever do is stand on stage. You're dealing every day with people who have had accidents whilst on holiday. You act as a policeman, you act as a doctor, you have all these roles. But that one role of presenting on stage, you see it on induction, every rep was petrified. And to be able to lead people through that and kind of give them my experience was really rewarding for me.
For you. I love that. And what would you kind of advise? What would you advise individuals who are potentially looking to come into the travel industry and who are trying to succeed and be recognized for their work? What kind of advice would you offer to them?
Find something you love. I think this is why I've got such a great friendship with you, Jamie, is that you've got this passion about what you do.
Thank you.
And when we were in Wolverhampton, you had your focus board. What do you call it? Is it focus board?
Oh my God, my vision board.
Your vision board. Your vision board. And I looked and I was like, I need one of these vision boards, man. But it's that passion, it's that passion you have. And, I've done jobs within travel that I've not been passionate about. I've really hated it. And, at some points it's made me nearly want to walk away from travel. For me, I got the best job in the world, and I say it to everyone I talk to. And I've always had that passion for what I do. And I think we're lucky to work in a job where you have a passion for it. If you work in some industries, go into a factory all day and really having a hard slog, it's difficult to be passionate about. But, like last night, I saw so many friends under one roof for the first time in 2 years, and you can see the passion between individuals. Everybody sat there last night, whether you were a competitor or a colleague, there was this passion for the industry. I think that's the most important thing, because if you don't have that, travel industry doesn't pay the most money. You're never going to make loads and loads of money from travel unless you end up owning all these big companies. But to have a passion for what you do and be able to wake up every day looking forward to going to work, I think it's the most rewarding thing you can get.
Definitely agree with you. So the Indie Travel No podcast is not just about getting an understanding of Olly, but some insights as well. And obviously without saying the word, the last 2 years has been quite difficult for the travel industry. And there's been lots of changes and things have transformed. How has your business kind of, made any significant changes, any things that have transformed in that last 2 years for you guys?
I'll make quite a grand statement here. COVID in some ways has been great for our business. Why do I say that? So we lost millions. We lost amazing people.
Yeah.
We were refunding at 1.5 million pounds a week. Yeah. That was all really tough. Why was it great though? We learned to operate in a different manner. So we went from this very old-fashioned industrial park-based company in Birmingham. Everyone went in, did a 9 till 5. They had their lunch at 12 o'clock. The fire alarm would go off at 11 o'clock on a Friday to test it. People argued over car parking spaces. We went through everything together. We built a team mentality. Or a tribe mentality, I'd say, more so than a team. We are a tribe. And through that, we challenged the business. So we reduced cost in the business by about 40%, just because we had all these subscriptions to just rubbish, just software that nobody was using.
That you never used.
And they were just carrying over. So when you start looking at the cost analysis, you're taking costs down. Hybrid working. Historically, everybody was in the office. Therefore, I wouldn't recruit in London or Munich or Japan. Whereas now we're recruiting people all over the world. So you get very different core skill sets coming through. Technology has changed everything. Whether it is Teams or Zoom rather than meeting in person. It's quite funny. Yesterday, I did a phone call with someone, a friend of mine who lives in France, and he was like, why are you phoning me? Why aren't we doing it by video? And I was like, I've got no internet. And he was like, how can you not have any internet? I was like, well, I'm in London, man. I'm walking along. I don't know. I've got no internet. He was like, I've not had a phone call in 2 years. Oh, wow. I've not had a phone meeting in 2 years. What the hell's going on? And someone asked me the other day, do you have a conference facility? I was like, what's a conference facility? Because people changed, the way that we work changed. And I think from a tribe and a team mentality, there needs to be a really good mix of working together under one roof, whether that looks like a WeWork type situation or a static office, and that hybrid piece, so people from their mental well-being and being able to give time back to your family. I had so much time with my family during COVID, and it was great because I kind of live an hour and a half from my office, so I was losing 3 hours a day backwards and forwards. So I'd be able to have that time and been more productive because I was more mentally aware and I was more, I was getting decent night's sleep. I wasn't in that rat race. So no, I think that's changed everything, and technology's allowed that to change everything. And I think the world will never return to that normality.
That normality that we had before. Are there any particular trends that you are watching? What's Olly watching? What things are you looking at now? What are you watching? Not on Netflix.
No. I'm not a big TV watcher. I don't really have time.
Me either.
So I don't believe in reports. So I see all these reports, all these figures. I don't think, especially in the last 2 years, a single one of them has been right. What I look at is I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. Okay. I look at industry peers like yourselves. What are they saying? Not from a report perspective. What's their voice? What are they experiencing? And then I try to articulate that myself to my team to say, okay, because you can have a chart and a plotted graph and say this is where we expect. I think at the moment it's not even about that. We don't have a forecast. We don't have a budget. We have a feeling. We all have the feeling. We know what we want to achieve. We know how we want to achieve it. And we do it together. So by having those two things together, we're just aiming in the one direction. This is our North Star. How do we get to it? Because if not, you just end up being kind of stuck on, well, this is what the graph's saying, this is what I need to aim for. So we're trying to expand that a little bit more, understand from different partners. We talk a lot to our partners to understand their experiences and kind of what they're experiencing at the moment, I guess.
Brilliant. And what are some of the things that Attractions World, you guys are doing right now as it relates? I know you're very involved in the ITT Future You help, and we're supporting them through different internship programs and coming up to all of the different conferences and speaking. Anything that you guys are working on in terms of sustainability and supporting your individual partners, diversity and inclusivity, anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. So sustainability. When I was at TUI many years ago, I was their sustainability champion when they launched the Dreamliner aircraft, which was great. It was a game changer in the industry, but it's something we're really positive about. So we do a lot now with our partners in destination on what their sustainability charters look like. So they get promoted over and above any other partnerships. So we will list different products depending on sustainability, diversity, what they give back to the local economy. So that's really big. We did a big employee appreciation day last week where we donated all profits from our peak selling period of March to all of our employees and split it between them. They didn't know it was going to happen. They all had a good share each, and it was just to say thank you to them. Attraction World historically as well, there was always a very rigid managerial line. It was kind of, I don't know, it was not stuck in the past, but there wasn't a lot of inclusiveness. You know, there wasn't any women in the leadership team, so on and so forth. So we've done a lot of work around that. I'm a very strong feminist, and I don't want to upset any guys out there, but I find women to be a lot more productive at times as well. So we've had a really great time.
Don't come for Ollie. Don't come for Ollie.
We've had a really great time building this team together. And you can see within the team now all of the different roles that each one of them play. It is a family, the leadership team. We all argue and fight, but we also get on and respect as well and support. So we've done a lot around that. We're doing the internship program at the moment. We've got a few charity partnerships which we're launching this year as well, whereby we'll be donating to different charities that are linked to travel, which is something we've not done before. So yeah, we're moving in the right directions. It isn't a finished piece yet. There's multiple parts of the business that we need to get right, but we're working on that together. And so far, so good.
Fantastic. It's all about small steps. Small steps, big impact. It will happen once you're making those steps.
You're 100% right. You know, I started my career kind of seeing the next step. It was really far away and trying to get to that. Whereas I guess that goes back to the other point. Since becoming a CEO, I think for me, it's understanding all of those small little jigsaw pieces, because historically I was focused on my part of the business. What happened over here, I look at that secondary. Today, now it is all about little bits and pieces, and people find it strange because usually I'm 100 miles an hour. I'm like Tigger. I'm just bouncing off the walls. Whereas everyone's gone, you slow down, you kind of looking at things in a very different manner now. And that's important for the team, and it's important for me in my development. But I'm learning as I go.
You're learning as you go, and that's what's important. Every day is a learning day, right?
Yeah, it is.
You can't ever take that away. Even at a CEO level, every day is a learning day. And that's a thread that you hear coming up consistently throughout this podcast so far. All the different leaders we've spoken to, it's all about learning. You know, you don't start learning because you get to that particular point.
It's great, and I've got there's a guy called Brett Tolman, who's the CEO of Travel Corporation, very good friend of mine. He's mentoring me. He really challenges me at times. I've got Enrique, who I used to work with at City Sightseeing, again, holding me to account. So I'm lucky that, I wasn't expecting to become the CEO last June. I wasn't expecting all these things to happen so quickly, but I'm lucky to have the right people around me to say, look at things in a different
way, how to look at it. Well, as we get ready to wrap up the show, my two favorite questions to ask people. If you weren't the CEO of Attractions World right now, what career would you like to explore?
I'd have a bar on the beach in Barbados. No, seriously, man. Seriously.
I can totally see that, though.
Seriously, I'd have a beach bar. for me, I'd only care if I had one shirt on my back.
Yeah.
My dream job, and I got this from watching the film The Firm.
The Firm, okay.
Originally, and then Cocktail with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, my favourite actor as a kid.
Okay.
And so there's a bit in when he's in Grand Cayman in The Firm, and obviously in Cocktail he ends up on the beach bar. And I've always looked at it and gone, you know what? That's just happiness right there.
One day.
That is just happiness. Not waking up thinking, do I have to support all these people, or where's cash flow coming from, or all these challenges you get in daily life. I just like to, the best job I ever did was as a rep overseas, and I used to walk along the beach at 12 o'clock in the afternoon after my first shift, and it was just like, whoa, you look out at the sea, and you just have that, and it's just the happiness, that for me is the pinnacle. So beach bar in Barbados. I'll go into partnership with you if you want.
I'm just saying. It sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. We can call it Jamie-Lee's. on the it'd be beautiful. Get some nice flowery shirts. We're rocking and rolling.
I'm rolling. Definitely, it'll be a success for sure. And whose career inspires you and why?
My old boss Enrique.
Okay.
Enrique the guy is like an older brother to me, but to see. He came from a wealthy background, a very prominent family in Spain, but he did everything himself. So he moved over to San Francisco when his family wanted him in Spain. He bought one. In San Francisco, you have these kind of coaches that go down the hill on the rails. The trams. Sorry, I went brain. This is last night effects. So the trams, and he brought a tram back for the Expo in Seville in 1992, and. Just as he put it back, there was the big financial crash in Spain, but he kept going. He kept showing that perseverance, and he built a global brand. And when I joined him in 2011, we operated out of a cow shed in Stratford-upon-Avon, and we turned it into a global business together. And we travelled the world. We went everywhere, and it was just amazing. We opened an operation in Dubai as a joint venture with Emirates. It was just an incredible journey, and the guy just gets it. He just gets it. He gets travel. He's got a passion for what he does. He doesn't give up. Even now, I was speaking to him throughout the pandemic, and he's now, taking the pandemic and actually finding the opportunities from it. So he's acquiring new businesses. He's pulling things together. And I guess the one piece I need to work on myself is I get quite erratic at times. I'm quite full of energy, whereas he was the calm.
He's the calm.
So it was the yin and yang with each other.
Yeah.
And I have that now with Justin as well. Justin's the calm one. I'm really looking forward to finding an erratic business partner at some time, so I could be the calm guy.
You're a calm person at some point. It'll happen.
But no, Enrique, without a shadow of a doubt. Okay. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Olly, for taking the time out and coming to join us on the show. And we look forward to hearing more from Olly at Attractions World. Yeah,
100%. I'd love to come back in a year and tell you the journey.
The journey and see what's happened. I like that. A recap.
Be perfect.
1 year, 12 months from now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna get working.
The In the Travel No podcast is powered by AVIS Budget Group, a global mobility provider operating in over 160 countries, creating a diverse and inclusive culture. Their brands include AVIS, Budget, and Zipcar. They work to connect you to more. They are a team of visionaries, inventors, and achievers, driving technology that will revolutionize the world. They have roles in airports, operations, corporate, and support teams. To find out more, visit avisbudgetgroup.jobs to browse their latest global vacancies.